What's up, guys, and welcome to another edition of Top of the Key. This is episode 3. I'm your host, Sai Balabhadra Petruni, also known as the Beard 2.0 and newly as the Brown Mamba. We got a great episode for you today. We're going to be talking NFL, NBA, and we're also going to be talking Indiana basketball. Please, if you like the video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. And please comment and give me your feedback. If you like it, if you hate it, please let me know what you hate about the podcast, what you hate about me. If you think I look ugly, or I don't care, whatever. But I'm very excited about this episode because we have a very special guest, my good friend from Indiana, Ethan Dillman. Welcome, Ethan.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here. You know, we've always had a good sports connection, you know, talking down at IU, and so it's nice to actually start for you to start a podcast of some sort, to officially put our thoughts out there.
Yeah, you know, we always talked about this over the school year, doing a podcast, and we'd always just like sit outside and talk sports, and we'd call it our little podcast. So it's fun that we're actually doing this and putting it out. How's your quarantine going, by the way?
It's not going too bad, you know, just finished school a while back. So haven't been too busy as of late. But, you know, I'll start to get more busy here when my internship kicks in. But as for now, just, you know, chilling with my cat, eating some good home-cooked food. Not too bad.
Awesome. Well, let's just get down to it. I thought we'd start off with Indiana basketball. You and I are big Hoosier Hoops fans. We went to every single home game this year at Assembly Hall. And, you know, so there have been a couple roster changes over the past month or so. Justin Smith left. He's going to transfer. And Christian Lander has reclassified to join the 2020 team. He was a junior in high school, but he will forego his senior year to join the Indiana basketball team. Ethan, can I get your thoughts?
Yeah. You know, starting with Justin, obviously it always does hurt when one of your starters does leave. You know, somebody like Justin who played a lot of minutes for IU, you know, who would average right around 10 points a game. You know, it's always going to be a loss, and his presence on the defensive end was always felt too. However, you know, with him leaving, I feel as though it's also an opportunity for others to step up, such as Jerome Hunter and Race Thompson, that are, you know, about the same size as Justin is. You know, I think Jerome can bring a lot on the offensive end. You know, we've kind of seen flashes from him. He's got a nice shot, you know, can kind of create his own shot, moving into the key. And then somebody like Race, who has really great defensive and rebounding games. And so obviously you know, losing Justin, I think it will hurt to a degree, but at the same time, I think it's a great opportunity for other guys to step up.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think he was a strong defensive presence. He played good defense. He rebounded the basketball well. He wasn't the best offensive weapon. He was, you know, anytime he really got the ball and he took a shot, I would hold my breath because I didn't think he was going to make it. But, yeah, to be honest, he was a big defensive presence. I did hear reports, however, that him and Archie Miller didn't really get on. He was obviously a Tom Crean recruit. There were disagreements within the team. He didn't really like Archie that much. Do you think? I know there's a lot of depth in our front court. We got guys like Jerome Hunter, like Race Thompson, who can play good defense, who can rebound the basketball well. Trace is always there, who's going to be a focal point on our offense in the future. Do you think there was any pressure from Archie Miller to maybe transfer because he wasn't going to play Justin Smith as much? Do you think that had anything to do with it?
I mean, perhaps. I think it's always tough when, you know, you are recruited by one coach like Justin was. He was recruited by Coach Crean. And then, you know, IU fired Crean going into Justin's freshman season, and then Justin had Coach Miller as a coach. And so I think whenever that happens, and especially when you got two coaches, Archie and Crean, that are about as opposite as you can get in terms of personality, in terms of style of coaching. Crean was much more offensive, fast-paced. Coach Archie seems to be more focused on the defensive end and then their attitudes seem to be slightly different. And so, like I said, there's always going to be a problem there. And at this point, we're already at the point where there's only one Archie or Korean recruit left, which is Al Durham. And so, yeah, I think at the end of the day, I did not think it was too surprising that Justin did transfer because of the always continuous battle that always seems to happen when a new coach comes in. So,
yeah, and I think that you hit the nail on the head right there. With this is going to be this is pretty much Archie Miller's first year with his own team, his own class of players. So it's really going to be interesting to see what he does and how the team plays. Christian Lander is one of his new recruits. Great recruit. He reclassified, forgoes his senior year to come play for Indiana this year. Do you think there's going to be any development issues just because he skipped a year? Or how do you think he's going to affect our team?
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll benefit our team for sure. Somebody like him, he's going to have to, I guess, grow up quickly, as people say, because he's going to be coming in as the age of a senior in high school, thrown into the fire of an IU team, not only playing in the Big Ten, but will also have a pretty tough non-conference schedule as well. And so, but I have seen some of his highlights. He looks great. 6'2" point guard. Seems to have great vision of the court, knows where to pass the ball, who to pass the ball to. Seems to have really great ball control. It seems to have a pretty nice jump shot as well. And so I think he'll bring a lot to this IU team, a team that if we said one of their weaknesses, it would be guard play at times. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think guard play has definitely was an issue last year. Our front court was great. We had guys who were dominating the glass like Trace and Race. That's going to be a fun duo to watch next year. But we didn't really have too much depth at the guard position. We had Rob, we had Al. That was about it, and we really struggled when we wanted to run our offense when one of them was on the bench. So to have another guy who can shoot the ball, who can run an offense, who can become a potential solid floor general for us, and maybe create his own shot, a star level point guard is going to be great for us, I think. I just, he definitely has to build up some strength, get some conditioning in. He's a year younger. The guys in the Big Ten are big, and they're going to be tough to play against because they're strong, big, strong kids who this is the toughest conference in college basketball. So this is no joke. It's going to be tough. So we're very excited about Christian Lander joining the team, and hopefully it goes better than the Romeo recruit. What do you think, Ethan?
Yeah, I think it will, just because Romeo, man, that was a whole debacle this season. He had so high of expectations. I've been an IU fan all my life. I've never seen a player have as high of expectations as Romeo did. Lander's not near there, but so I think, and Lander kind of benefits from, he's not going to be forced to, go to the NBA right after his freshman year. Of course, you never know, but I think he's a guy that will stay for at least a couple of years at IU and hopefully develop to be a great point guard.
Yeah, and Langford's not even playing in the NBA. I don't know when he will or if he will. The Celtics are pretty stacked already, and I don't see him playing for them anytime soon. But hey, look, the big question here is what's going on with Archie Miller. Is he on the hot seat next year? What does he need to do to prove that he can keep his job?
Yeah. I would say, if you're an IU coach that has coached now for 3 previous seasons, you're going to be naturally on the hot seat, and Archie's no exception to that. I think he definitely has to make the tournament. That is baseline. I honestly don't see him, unless there's, whether it's really bad injuries or some weird circumstance. I think Archie will have to make the tournament with this team, and I think they will. I think this team is definitely talented enough to make the tournament. And I would like us to make the tournament as a respectable seed, be along that 4, 5, 6 seed line. I think that's very doable. And then to also, be a solid team in the Big Ten, be a contender. I'm not, I expect us to win the Big Ten. I'm not there yet, but I think a top 4 to 5 finish, I think is a reasonable expectation for this IU team and Archie.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we have to make the tournament, but I don't think that's enough for Archie Miller at this point. This is going to be his 4th year as head coach of the IU basketball team. We were probably going to make the tournament last year. We had a pretty solid shot. We won 20 games, I want to say. So we were probably going to make the tournament as a lower seed, but still make the tournament. So I don't think making the tournament is enough, because even with all of that, I would have been disappointed with last season, because I just didn't see good coaching from his part. There were so many moments where we had those scoring droughts of 6, 7, sometimes like 8 minutes, and in a 40-minute basketball game, that is atrocious. That's going to put a huge dent in you. And the big thing is that we were playing good defense. Like, even with those scoring droughts, a lot of times the games were close. So he wasn't making the right adjustments. When you're 3 minutes into and you can't score, or 3 or 4 minutes, you want to make some sort of adjustment. You don't wait for it to happen again. And we weren't making those adjustments. We weren't making adjustments at the end of the game to be able to draw up plays to score the ball at the end of the game, or get a stop to get a close win. We saw it in the Maryland game at Assembly Hall, where we were up 3-4 points the entire game, almost. Like, throughout the second half, we had a slight edge. It was back and forth, but we always had the edge. And then we blew it at the very end. That's not what we're supposed to do. That should not be our brand of basketball.
Yeah. And, going back to those scoring droughts, they just kill you as a team. And, if you limit those scoring droughts from, it would get up to 8 minutes to like 2 minutes, and then you get a puck. I mean, it's just huge. And just overall coaching adjustments during the game, I feel as though Archie can definitely improve upon. You hope that he learns from his experiences, what worked adjustment-wise, what didn't work. But, during our scoring droughts, I think, and if we start to go into one in this upcoming season, I hope Archie can realize it sooner and make adjustments quicker, that will not allow us to go into those unfortunately, consistent scoring droughts that always seem to happen.
Yeah, something needs to change from that standpoint. I hope that additions of Christian Lander and having his own team with the exclusion of Al Durham, but I think Archie Miller likes having Al Durham on his team. He's a solid player. I think we definitely need to be a top 4 or 5 seed in the Big Ten. It's a tough conference. I get it. There's no easy games in the Big Ten. But I will say, we have one of the greatest fan bases in college basketball. That's not biased. I'm not even being biased when I say that. That's a fact. Assembly Hall is one of the toughest places to play. You go to Assembly Hall and you go to a game, the atmosphere is electric. It is almost impossible for a team to come to us and play in that stadium. It is tough. So with that being said, I don't think we should really be losing games at Assembly Hall. Maybe 1 or 2, but we should go damn near undefeated at home next year.
I agree. I mean, you said Assembly Hall is a very tough place to play, and I've always said, I mean, of course, playing nothing against the players. Playing basketball in the Big Ten is very hard, but it's not hard to get Assembly Hall rocking. Like, you just got to make like a few shots, and Assembly Hall will get loud for IU. And we've been there at its loudest, and there's not many teams that will come in and beat IU if Assembly Hall has that atmosphere. And so, yeah, we always play 10 home Big Ten games. There's no reason we shouldn't win at least. I have that high of expectation. Maybe you lose one game,
maybe to like a tough Maryland team or a Michigan.
But
Michigan State.
Definitely win 9, and then definitely beat Purdue at home. I am sick and tired of losing.
Oh my God.
That's another thing for Archie. Making the tournament as a solid seed. Not having no scoring droughts and beating Purdue. That's another thing. As an IU coach, you're expected to make the tournament and you're expected to beat Purdue on a consistent basis. And Archie has yet to beat Matt Painter. I believe Matt Painter's 5-0 against Archie. And so Purdue's been a good team, but there's no reason they should come into Assembly Hall every year and win. They
beat us by like 15 at home last year. It was pathetic.
Yeah.
Archie Miller needs to understand what the priorities for Indiana basketball fans are. Like there are certain things on the checklist. Make the tournament. It shouldn't be that hard to do. Be a contender at least in the Big Ten and beat Purdue at home. At least at home. Like I get if we can't beat Purdue on the road, it's going to be a tough place to play. It's a rival, but we can't be losing to them at home, especially them. Last thing about IU basketball, I just want to ask you, what would need to happen for you to say, okay, I'm done with Archie. I think he should be fired?
I would say we continue to have those scoring droughts that we had last year. Nothing has seemed to improve. Even if we make the tournament like as 9, 10, 11 seed, and if we continue to have those droughts that just kill us, and if especially being one and done in the tournament, just not making any noise, that may do it. There's a lot of factors that go in, but I think the two biggest things would be, kind of one and done in the tournament as a lower seed, and then also the continuous scoring droughts.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think if we win a game in the tournament, I think it's a step in the right direction. But if we lose to a 13 seed, I don't know. I wouldn't really think that we should keep Archie at that point. So let's talk NFL. Obviously, the season will start in the fall, so we got a little bit of time. But they came out with a rule, the Rooney Rule, which basically the NFL is creating a quota on the number of ethnic minorities that teams have to interview for head coaching positions. So I thought this was pretty interesting. Obviously, the NFL has a racial disparity in terms of the fact that most of its players are black, but the vast majority of coaching jobs are filled by white people. I think there's only 2 or 3 NFL head coaches that are black at the moment. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on this, Ethan. Is this a step in the right direction? Do you think it'll accomplish anything? What are your thoughts?
I think it's definitely at least a small step in the right direction. There is definitely an issue, like you said, when an NFL when the NFL has 32 teams and there are 3, head black coaches, and then with the NFL, the players themselves is around, I believe, 70% black, and so that's where the issue is. Now, with this, with the amendment of this Rooney Rule, I'm not sure how big of an impact it's actually going to be. You obviously hope that it has a significant impact, and I know there's been rumors going around too that if a minority head coach is hired, then a team may even have a better draft pick. I'm not sure if that's the way to go, because players and coaches earn draft picks by how they perform in the season. Not really sure how that translates, but I think overall I think it's at least a small step in the right direction. I hope it makes a large impact. I'm just slightly skeptical that it will make an impact.
Yeah, I think. Look, I think this is it's a step in the right direction. I agree with you from a sentiment standpoint. I think there's definitely a problem. I don't really think it'll accomplish anything from the standpoint that if you interview a few head coaches here and there, but you don't hire them, it's not going to make any difference. I think at the end of the day, there's a culture issue within these organizations where most of the head coaches are white. Most of the owners are white, and that's where it comes down to ownership. Most of these owners are older, rich, white men, and they probably don't realize there's any racial disparity or racial issues going on, and they probably don't realize it themselves. But I don't know. It's one of those things that of comfort levels. People just gravitate towards people they feel comfortable to, and a lot of times, that's what happens with race. Like, white people will tend to gravitate to other white people, and it's not, and they don't realize it, but it's something that is clearly happening. So I think it starts off with ownership. I think the NFL coming up with this whole draft pick rule that they've tried to incentivize I think it's bullshit. I think it's the NFL's trying to kind of bribe them to make bribe teams to kind of make decisions that will put more head coaching jobs in the hands of minorities, and I think this is just. I see it more of like a media and publicity kind of thing where the NFL wants to look good in the face of everything that's going on in the world. I think they just tossed out a rule there to make them look better, Ethan. I don't really see it as them genuinely trying to solve a problem that is more rooted in a cultural standpoint.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the higher draft pick idea, but I do think the quota idea of interviewing at least X amount of minority coaches, or possible coaches, I think that's more of a step in the right direction. I think we just have to realize that if we could, continue fighting and continue, advocating for this, it'll take a while. Obviously, hopefully one day, we can start seeing more minority more minority head coaches, but also more minority owners. And like you said, it's a very top to bottom system. And perhaps once you start getting more minority owners in the league, in the NFL, then things can start to trickle down in a more fair way.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that point. It's definitely a step in the right direction. It's a positive step. I just think it's not something the NFL can. It's not a problem the NFL can solve by just making some sort of rule. It's an issue that is deeply rooted and will only be solved by individuals taking actions in their own communities, and like football coaches, small towns, college football coaches, just giving opportunities to everybody. And I think that's when those types of issues will be solved. It is a crazy disparity when you have most of the players are one race, and then it's the complete opposite for the coaching. But it's an interesting thing to monitor. Hopefully we'll see some change in the future, but I think it will take time. Yep. So I thought we'd move on and just kind of preview some of the big matchups in the NFL coming up this season. You are obviously a big Colts fan, born and bred in Indiana. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the AFC South. The Colts, Phillip Rivers, go.
I think it all hinges on Phillip Rivers, and I'll explain why. So this is if you take the quarterback out for a second, I think this is the best team the Colts have had, honestly, since Peyton Manning. A top 5 offensive line in the league with one of the best O-linemen in the league, Quentin Nelson, a great center, Brian Kelly. You look at our running backs, Marlon Mack, who's has the potential to be a really great running back. I think he's still a solid running back. Drafting Jonathan Taylor was huge as well. Look at our receiving options. T.Y. Hilton, I think, is one of the most underrated receivers in the league. Jack Dola, tight end. Drafting Michael Pittman, receiver. So the offense, I think is solid enough. defense, I mean, adding DeForest Buckner was absolutely huge. That was the one issue with this Colts team last year was defensive push, trying to get to the quarterback. Adding Buckner is massive. Obviously, we still have Darius Leonard. Anthony Walker is also another great linebacker. And the secondary can be up and down at times, and hopefully that'll improve with the addition of Xavier Rhodes. But I think, as good as our team can be, if Phillip Rivers is the Phillip Rivers of last year and you're throwing a lot of interceptions, I don't know how far this team can go. Perhaps not even make the playoffs.
Yeah,
even in a weaker division like the South, AFC South. But if Rivers is what he was 2 years ago when they made the playoffs, and hopefully he will be with that solid O-line, I think the sky's the limit. Obviously, you got the Chiefs and the Ravens that are really, really good in the AFC and will be good for years to come. But I think if Phillip Rivers is on his game, I don't see a reason that this team shouldn't make the playoffs. They absolutely should.
I think playoffs is an undersell. I think this team should absolutely win the division. There's no reason they shouldn't. It does come all the way down to Phillip Rivers. Going off of what you said, I think the offensive line has been great for a few years, ever since you drafted Quentin Nelson. The defense has been up and coming. Darius Leonard is great. DeForest Buckner's a great addition as well. Xavier Rhodes, I don't know if he's past his prime a little bit, but he can still play. I think the big change that I like to see was how your GM approached the draft. I think getting those skilled position players was extremely key, because that's an area where you guys have struggled in the past. Obviously, you have Marlon Mack, who's great, but from a wide receiver standpoint, it's literally been the T.Y. Hilton show for years, and you haven't gotten a second option for your quarterbacks in a while. And drafting Michael Pittman was a big move. It's obviously a wide receiver heavy draft. He was drafted in the second round, but probably a first round level talent, just because there were so many of them. So this guy's a solid kid out of USC. He can play. I think the Colts should win the division. I think the Titans and the Texans take a little step back. They've lost a few pieces. Obviously, it's going to be tough with the Ravens and the Chiefs, but there's no reason you guys should not win this division.
I'm definitely putting expectations at winning the division. The Texans don't worry me at all, because they got rid of Hopkins for some reason. I think is the best receiver in the league. And then I think with Coach O'Brien there, I don't think they'll ever get far.
Bill O'Brien's a box of rocks, Ethan. Bill O'Brien is a box of rocks.
Yeah. So, but the Titans are the team that does worry me in the AFC South. They kind of made that Cinderella run last year to the AFC Championship game, kind of ran into a brick wall on the Chiefs. But that's the team that actually does worry me. I think Derrick Henry, man, he can be tough to stop. And again, kind of like the Colts, everything's going to be on Rivers. Same thing for the Titans. I think it's going to come down to Ryan Tannehill. Can Ryan Tannehill be a quarterback that can lead to a division title? I don't know. I'll place, I'm not a betting man, but if I were to place money, I'd place them on the Colts. But the Titans definitely are the team that, if I were worried about a team, definitely the Titans.
I think the Titans and the Colts are the teams to beat in the AFC South as well. I think the problem with the Titans is they've lost a couple pieces on defense. Their defense is still pretty solid. I think it's a strength in their team. I think Derrick Henry is the best running back in the league. I think he's going to prove that this year. I don't think it's very close either. This guy's a monster. The problem I have is with Ryan Tannehill. He had a Cinderella type of season last year, but in the playoffs you saw what their team was all about. He had a couple games where they won, where he had about 80 yards, maybe 100 yards passing, and they were relying on the run and the defense to win those games. So I think teams will start to figure it out. If you blitz heavy, if you try to stop the run, force Ryan Tannehill to throw the ball, that's your game plan right there. So I had the Colts winning the AFC South as well. So before the show, Ethan and I kind of compared our playoff seedings for our predictions, and we pretty much had the same picks for the most part. We had Ravens, Eagles, Colts, Bills winning the divisions in the AFC, and then maybe a couple differences in the wild card. But in the NFC, we had the Saints winning the South. I believe we had both the Packers winning the North, and the Seahawks winning the West. But the big difference that we had, it was in the NFC East. Ethan had the Cowboys winning the NFC East and the Eagles out of the playoffs, and I had the Eagles winning the NFC East and the Cowboys out of the playoffs. So why did you pick the Cowboys?
So I think a big problem for the Cowboys was Coach Garrett. I did not think he was a good coach at all. I don't think he really knew what he was doing at the head coaching position. They always seemed to, they would win 3 straight games and then they would just get blown out in other games. I believe they finished around 8-8 last season. You look at the talent. I mean, the Cowboys are very talented. Let's leave, Dak Prescott. I'm not sure about Dak yet, but Ezekiel Elliott are, top 5 running back in the league. A solid offensive line. You got Amari Cooper. They drafted CeeDee Lamb as well. I think they got Michael Gallup. Not sure on that, but I know they have a great receiving core. Defensive end, they got DeMarcus Lawrence, got Jalen Smith. They got talent. The talent is there. And I think adding Coach McCarthy to that, who has had experience coaching, he's a Super Bowl winning coach. He coached the Packers when Aaron Rodgers won his Super Bowl. I just think the Cowboys are quite frankly just more talented than the Eagles. And I know sometimes talent doesn't equate to wins, and I think it will be relatively close in the East. But I actually do think the Cowboys will edge it out this year. I just got a deep feeling that McCarthy will turn things around for them.
So I have a few reasons why I think you're wrong, and here's why. First of all, I have to talk about Dak Prescott. I think...
I've got about talking. You can talk about it.
Yeah, so I think Dak Prescott is good, not great. I don't think he deserves to be what he thinks he is, which is the highest paid player in the NFL. I think that's absolute garbage. It's a travesty for the league if Dak Prescott gets paid that much.
I actually do agree with you. I don't think I don't think he should be the highest paid player in the league.
I think the deal he wanted would make him the highest paid player of all time, which is absurd. But I think he's good. He's not great. He's a good leader for the team. I think he's the type of guy who he won't lose you games. He will not lose you the game at the end of the game, but he won't win you the game really either. He'll play a solid game, and he needs the pieces around him to really help him win a football game. The Cowboys do have the pieces around him. He's got great receivers. He's got CeeDee Lamb. He's got Amari Cooper. He's got Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield. They have a solid defense. I also hated the CeeDee Lamb pick, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that first round pick of CeeDee Lamb was the flashiest, most Jerry Jones Cowboys first round pick I could ever see. I think they had good receivers before. I think they had a couple other areas where they could have improved. The offensive line hasn't been the same since it was one of the best a few years ago. It has regressed. I wouldn't have minded them taking a tackle or a guard. Maybe beef up the defense a little bit more. I think it was Jerry Jones just trying to get Dak Prescott a little more help because he knows Dak can't get it done by himself.
He can. Dak's always benefited from great teammates around him. He's always had at least a solid O-line. He's always had Zeke with him, and now you had Amari Cooper, and then you had,
Michael Gallup.
What worries me about the Eagles, though, is that Carson Wentz can never seem to stay healthy. And when he's playing, he's a great quarterback.
That's why you got Jalen Hurts.
He did draft Jalen Hurts. I don't know about that. And I definitely root for Wentz. I want him to stay healthy. You always want to see the best talent on the field. But that always worries me. And then they always seemed – now, they were decimated by injuries last year. I get it. But I think just top to bottom, I really do think the Cowboys are just a more talented team.
I agree they have a better roster. But I think the Eagles have a better quarterback. Carson Wentz, if he can stay healthy, is an elite level quarterback who can make it work with any receivers, really. I think they still have a great defense. Their defensive line is still solid. They have a veteran presence on their team. Their leadership is better. They've been there before. The Cowboys, Mike McCarthy has won a Super Bowl. Granted, it was with one of the most talented quarterbacks we have ever seen in Aaron Rodgers. Dak Prescott is nowhere near Aaron Rodgers. So, yes, I'm intrigued to see what this team can do, but I don't know if saying Mike McCarthy has won a Super Bowl, he's a veteran head coach, he has a lot of experience, just gives you the ability to say that the Cowboys will be serious contenders next year. I think they're very talented. This is my final point I'm coming down to here. It's the Cowboys, man. They always find a way to screw it up, much to the enjoyment of everybody else.
And trust me, I'm making this Cowboys pick. I'm rooting against them. I don't like the Cowboys. Nobody likes the Cowboys, me included. I would probably rather see the Eagles win. But I'll try and look at this from an objective point of view, and I think the Cowboys will win. But I actually kind of hope they don't. I always love when Stephen A. Smith it's an accident waiting to happen. And they have been for years. And we'll see what they are with McCarthy.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. I think they'll be contending with the Eagles for the East. And then it'll come down to week 16, week 17, and they will choke so hard and bring the rest of us football fans so much happiness. But yeah, I think it's going to be a close race, and it'll be very fun to follow this season. It's going to be a big storyline how if they can get Dak's contract done, and who knows, Andy Dalton might play.
And hey, I'll take Andy Dalton with that offense.
Underrated.
Yeah.
So NFL should be fun, but NFL is still a ways away. What we do know about sports coming up is that the NBA is very likely to resume in July. I'm so excited, Ethan. But they've been talking about different ways they could return and how they would conduct the playoffs, if they would complete regular season games. But I just wanted to start off on this. Damian Lillard came out the other day and said that if there were more regular season games, just like 3 or 4 regular season games they added on to fit the local TV money requirements, but the teams didn't really have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs with no play-in tournament and anything like that, where they would just do a few games of the regular season and then move to the playoffs. Damian Lillard said he wouldn't play if there wasn't in meaningless games. He wouldn't play in meaningless games where he didn't have a shot to make the playoffs. What do you think about that?
I have no problem with it, personally. If you look at somebody like him, there's somebody as talented as Damian Lillard is, who's very talented. There's always that slight risk of injury when you play, and when you're basically playing for nothing. I actually don't see any problem with it. It's been done, and I mean, you look at Kawhi Leonard, who started this whole trend of resting and then playing, and then you look at like in football, where college football players won't play in their bowl game. Their bowl game really doesn't matter. I think it's just a trend that we've seen happening, and I personally don't have a problem with it. If you don't want to play, especially when there's truly a 0% chance that the Portland Trail Blazers, will not make the playoffs, or they're, disadvantaged to the point where there's no way. I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he was completely in the right for saying this, especially with everything that's going on in the world today. He's from Portland. He would have to go all the way to Orlando for like 3 useless basketball games where they might have to, I don't know if they're bringing their families or what's going on there. He's risking getting being affected by the virus. He's risking injury. And I think it either way. I think it would kind of be a travesty if you just went straight to the playoffs too, though. I think there are a few bubble teams in there that have had a shot with, and I get there's been the argument that said, oh, but Dame had 67 games to put his team in playoff contention and make the playoffs. But it's also like he played 67 games with the intention that he'd have 15 more to help his team get to the playoffs. So if you give him 3 more, I don't think that's a fair argument at the end of the day. I think you expect that there's going to be an 82 game season, and you want to make the playoffs in those 82 games. The Blazers struggled at the start of the season, but they've been playing better, and they've been getting closer to that 8th seed. You're robbing some really good teams of an opportunity of doing that. So I wanted to get to your thoughts on potential playoff formats. Should we go direct to the playoffs? There's the play-in tournament idea, reseeding. What are your thoughts?
So I think you at least need to make sure every NBA team has played the same amount of games. I think that's first, because we're about, like 3/4 through the season or so. Some teams have played like 3 or 4 more games, at least even that out. Then, and I know there's been talk about, well, let's reseed, let's do this, pool style. I'm not for that. I'm just for, you have your 1 through 8 in the East, 1 through 8 in the West. You would, the exact same way it would have been done. And my reasoning is that when you go into a season, okay, take the Los Angeles Clippers, right, for example. They go into that season thinking that, all right, we're going to stay in the West here, hopefully make the Western Conference Finals, and most likely play the Lakers. Now, if they did do this reseeding here, the Clippers, I believe, would be around the 4 seed, and they would have to run into Milwaukee. And that it just totally changes, their whole thought process of what they're going to have to do throughout the season. Now,
that's unfair for Milwaukee, and I think that just heavily favors the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm actually for the reseeding after this season, because I think this West-East thing is starting to get out of hand. I mean, divisions don't even matter at this point. I think we can just do a 1 through 16 straight up. But at least for this season, when you played all of those games before you, thinking you're going to have the conference finals in the East and West respectively, I don't think you can just change it, right away and be like, oh, we're doing this playoff format instead. I feel like that's unfair.
Yeah, I agree with you from that standpoint. I think reseeding, I'm against. I think a big part of the NBA and sports in general, for the fans, are the storylines, and the big storylines are who's going to face off in the East and who's going to face off in the West. The Lakers-Clippers battle for the West. The Battle of LA has been a huge storyline. The LeBron versus Kawhi storyline in the West. And the East is who can stop Milwaukee? Will it be Boston? Will it be Toronto? Who's going to stop the Greek Freak? These are important storylines, and this is why I say I'm not for reseeding this year, but I'm not for reseeding ever, actually. I don't like the idea because I do think the East is getting better with teams like Miami, Boston, Toronto's still in the mix there. Philadelphia's always going to be there. Oh, and an Indiana team with Oladipo is going to be solid. The Nets are going to be great next year. Look, I think the Eastern Conference is going to be better, and I think there are. It's not like football where those rivalries are so entrenched, but there are still important rivalries in basketball that are conference based. You have to go through this team. It's like this team is the team. Watching that Jordan documentary, one of the big things I saw was like for Michael Jordan and the Bulls was like the Pistons are the team to beat. We want to beat them to get to the NBA Finals. And then for a lot of teams, it was for the Pacers later on. It was the Bulls they wanted to get through. It was the Celtics that the Pistons had to get through in the 80s. It's like who's on top and we have to knock them down. I think reseeding kind of throws everything all in a loop. It might be fun, but it really doesn't bring out those entrenched feelings that fans have towards another team and their own team. So I do think there are those rivalries that are in there, that are in play, that I don't think reseeding will take into consideration. I will say I'm not for it, but the World Cup group stage idea seems so fun.
I mean, I'm a big World Cup fan. I'm always a fan of watching that, and so it would be fun. I just think no, like I just don't see a reasoning for it. Maybe that's something they can do. Not really later down. I don't know, via like a 2K format or something. But
I mean, Adam Silver's been on this idea for a while.
I don't see a reason for it.
I don't see it. I don't see any viability of it happening. I don't think anyone's really going to get behind it. But I did hear Adam Silver's been like pushing this for like years. It's been something that I don't know, but could be interesting. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to end up doing some sort of a play-in tournament for the 7 and 8 seeds. I hope they don't bring back every team though, because I think it would be kind of a travesty if, let's say, somehow the Hawks get hot randomly, if they're brought back and Trae Young hits like 53s and they find themselves in the playoffs. Like, I would hate that.
Maybe, but I mean, if we're being realistic, you got Lakers, Clippers, maybe Rockets in the West, and then you got Celtics, Bucks. Maybe Raptors, maybe Sixers in the East can win it. That's it. Pacers aren't going to win it. Even like the Jazz, they're not going to win it. If the Jazz win it, they can come back here and make fun of me. But
I agree with you, but
there's a very limited amount of teams that actually have a shot. And so those 7 and 8 like tournament play-in, it's like they can happen, but they're just probably going to lose to those higher 1 and 2 seeds.
I agree with you, but the thing is, say a Trailblazers team somehow finds their way into the 8th seed. A Lakers Trailblazers series, obviously the Lakers are probably going to win that, but it could get interesting. Like it could be fun to see. Dame could have a couple great games.
And we've seen it, I think, last year, the Warriors were the 1 and the Clippers were the 8, and that went like 6 games.
The Clippers had a 30-point comeback in Oracle Arena. Yeah.
But, I don't know. We know who's probably going to be in the finals. Couple teams from the East, couple teams from the West have a shot. I think just do it. Making it as normal as possible, I think, is what the players want anyways. Because it's going to feel more authentic, whoever wins the championship. And so just doing what you would have done, I think it's just the best route moving forward.
Yeah, I do think they should play a few regular season games. There is the money incentive to get to 70 games. I say every team gets to 70 games for that money. I know Dame wouldn't want to play, but I think it's bigger than Dame. I think so many people will lose out on so much money if you don't get to that threshold. Players will lose out on money, and it's easy for Dame to say because he is one of the better players in the league. He's already pretty wealthy, so it's easy for him to say all that, but obviously there are other players who don't make as much that need to feed their families during this tough time.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But yeah, after that, I don't really care what happens in terms of the playoffs. I want the regular 7-game series. If they do a play-in tournament, cool. If they don't, I don't really personally care. But what I really just wanted to ask you quickly, just give me your pick to win it all, the finals, and who wins.
I know this seems to be just a cliche one. I think it's going to be Lakers-Bucks, and I think Lakers win. I think Lakers-Clippers will be in the Western Conference. That'll be a tough series. But I think in NBA, it comes down to the All-Stars. And the LeBron-AD duo is, I think, by far the best in the league. And I don't see really any teams. I mean, yeah, the Bucks can beat the Lakers on any night. Clippers can beat the Lakers on any night. But in a 7-game series, Danny Green, too, he always seems to get hot during the playoffs. Devontae Green's brother, too. Yeah. And then you got, gotta love Alex Caruso coming off the bench. Dwight Howard putting in good minutes. I do think Frank Vogel knows what he's doing with this team as well. They're an experienced team.
They're big.
LeBron has won championships. Rajon Rondo has won a championship. and I think they'll get it done.
I agree with you. I think Milwaukee could win, but I do agree with you. It's probably going to be the Lakers. But I want to give you my NBA Finals that I could see happening, that I kind of want to see happen. I think you know who it is.
Are you going to have the Rockets?
I was going Celtics Rockets.
Celtics Rockets, of course.
Celtics Rockets, and the Rockets come out on top, unfortunately. But I'd be okay with that, Loki. Well, I just wanted to thank you, Ethan, for coming on this episode of Top of the Key. This has been fun to go over all these issues with you, and I hope we can have you on the show again. But quickly, we're getting to the best part of the show here. We're gonna do the power rankings, and I thought Ethan would join us for this. So Ethan, what's number 10?
Number 10, the Cleveland Browns.
It is the Cleveland Browns. Do you want to know why, Ethan?
Because they ain't gonna do well.
They ain't gonna do well. I hope the Cleveland Browns shit the bed this year, Ethan. I think Baker's a bust.
I didn't even see that. Yeah. Okay.
I think Baker's a bust.
Yeah, they got talent, that's for sure. But I don't think Baker's the guy. I don't think Baker is an NFL quarterback, quite frankly. That's my opinion.
Yeah, they had so much talent last year too. I know they had a tough offensive line, but you had Sam Darnold for the taking. Yes, I'm a Jets fan. I'm biased, but Sam Darnold did a lot more with nothing. No offensive line and no weapons to throw the ball to. You have Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. Like, come on.
Josh Allen made the playoffs, too. He was in that same draft class.
Lamar Jackson was in that same draft class.
No, Josh Allen, I said.
No, I know. I said I know Josh Allen was, but I said Lamar Jackson was, too.
Lamar Jackson was, too.
But they took Baker above. Thank God they didn't take Josh Rosen. But number 9, I got Jarrett Stidham. I think the Patriots drafted him too early in the 4th round. They should have drafted him in the 6th round. And then he would have been like a 7-time Super Bowl winner.
I have no idea how good he is. I'm guessing not that good, but maybe he'll surprise us. Who knows?
I mean, it's Belichick. You never know. He threw 4 passes last year. I think one of them was a pick 6 against the Jets. Jamal Adams took it back for a touchdown, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I have no idea. Give me number 8.
Number 8, Viktor Krum from Harry Potter.
Viktor, please, Ethan. He's a Quidditch all-star. He made the all-star team for Quidditch back in '94.
But he can never get it done, man. He always choked.
He always choked. He didn't even win the Triwizard Tournament, Ethan.
Yeah, I mean, he always choked. No, he did choke against a goat, Harry Potter, but could never get it done.
Yeah, true. I wanted to get your thoughts though. If Harry Potter and Viktor Krum went up against each other at Seekers, who do you think wins?
Who in Harry Potter?
If Viktor Krum and Harry Potter go up against each other as Seekers.
Man, Harry's the chosen one. He's, I think he's got it in him ever since Baltimore, got the lightning bolt on his forehead. I think Harry just always has this innate nature in him to always come out on top.
It's true, but at the end of the day, you also have to look at it from the standpoint that Harry Potter's gone up against lesser competition. He's gone up against the Hufflepuffs, the Slytherins, the Ravenclaws. Viktor Krum has had international professional playoff experience.
Harry knows how to win. It's an emotional pick for me.
He caught a snitch with his mouth. Number 7 is Ethan Dillman. Thanks for coming on the show, buddy. He actually came up with the name Top of the Key, so I have to give him a big shout out for jump-starting this podcast and giving me the confidence to do this. So thanks, Ethan. Ethan, what is number 6?
Number 6 is Ben Simmons' 3-point shot. Then you have in quotes, will it get better in quarantine? I do not think it will. It may get better in quarantine. He's actually he's actually made some, which is a step in the right direction. Yeah. However, I mean, if he can make one every 10 games, that's honestly what the Sixers can ask of him.
I mean, he just doesn't take them. I think that's the issue. I think he should take more shots.
I never score if you don't shoot.
Exactly. Like, if I had never shot the ball, I'm a rebounder, but if I had never shot the ball, I would never have known that I can have stretches of absolute 3-point shooting brilliance.
Yeah. Exactly.
He needs to shoot. I think the Sixers would definitely benefit from him shooting the ball. Number 5, goggles. I think they need to make a comeback in sports. Horace Grant rocked them. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar rocked them. I think they're a great look, and I think they should come back. Who in the NBA today do you think could rock the goggle look?
Oh, man. I'm going to try and go with a younger star. I'm going to go Luka Doncic. I think he could look pretty sick in goggles. He's got that look to him.
I could definitely see Luka in goggles. I could also see LeBron in goggles too, though. I think he's got the mannerisms that could work with goggles, but Luka's a great pick. I'm gonna take one. I think Kyrie could work in goggles.
That's a good pick. Does he wear glasses? I think I've seen him wearing glasses.
He's
maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you saw masked Kyrie, Ethan. Masked Kyrie was unbelievable. A goggle Kyrie could be cool too. Number 4.
Is that Arne Duncan?
I don't know how you pronounce. Is it Arne or Arnie?
Former Secretary of Education and former NBA Celebrity All-Star Game MVP. He
was. I think Kevin Hart won the MVP that year and then gave it to Arne Duncan, who that's cool though. He was the former Secretary of Education, but he's also an absolute baller.
He's a businessman and he's a baller. I think Kevin Hart's, I don't know how many MVPs he's won.
He's a 3-time MVP. Who is guarding him? Who is guarding him where he gets MVP all these years?
Also, Kevin Hart, what's he, 5'6"? Not even?
I believe he's 4'2". 4'2". But yeah, number 4 is Arne Duncan. Number 3 is my favorite sportscaster. I think one of the best in the game today. Truly unbelievable interviewer, Erin Andrews. I think she's amazing. I think she's tremendous at her job. And that's one of my favorite things to watch is when I watch her is her interviewing skills, Ethan.
Yeah. And you look back when Richard Sherman was playing for the Seahawks in an NFC Championship game and he batted away that Colin Kaepernick pass to officially seal going to the Super Bowl, obviously Sherman was hot coming in and she dealt with that really well. Quite frankly.
Yeah, she's also really hot. Number 2, Ethan.
Should I take number 2?
Yeah, go for it.
Number 2 says myself, even though it's not my.
Oh, number two is me.
The Brown Mamba ? See, here's the thing. I don't know if Kobe would approve of that nickname.
I think he would. I think he would. He would
say you have to earn it.
Look, Kobe called himself the Black Mamba because he felt like he'd earned it. I felt like I've earned the Brown Mamba.
And one of the best to ever play the game.
I have a top 100,000 million podcast in the world.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I got mad skills on the court. I'm a great rebounder. I can shoot lights out from 3 for a minute stretch every 5 games. I don't know what else you want from me. But number 1, and I don't want to get too serious here, but number 1, we got to talk George Floyd. I put as number 1. Obviously, our country is going through some pretty sad and disappointing times right now with everything that's happened in Minnesota. Obviously, such a tragedy what happened the other day. And at a certain point, we got to stop, because obviously what happens every time one of these situations happens, Ethan, obviously is, the media talks about it for about a week. Everyone's posting stuff on social media. Everyone's saying this is wrong for about a week, and then it goes away until the next tragedy that happens. And so I think we just have to keep it in the back of our minds. And, it's easy to say things on social media. It's easy to just post a nice post saying that you think things that are happening are wrong. I think the true test of character for all of us is just to look at our personal lives, and it's hard to change much from a rooted government standpoint and through protests and other things like that, but from an individual standpoint, trying to change how we behave in our everyday lives, I think, is the most important thing.
Be a part of the change.
Yeah.
That's key.
So I also wanted to give a couple outside of the top 10. For number 547, we've got Charles Manson. This guy's a terrible guy. The Manson family killed a lot of people. A big part of the plot line of the Tarantino film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. By the way, quick plug for something that I'm not a part of at all. But Charles Manson, not a great guy. He's kind of a weirdo, creep, psychopath. But he is above number 548. And who is number 548? Drum roll, please. You guessed it, J.R. Smith. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to another edition of Top of the Key. We hope you guys like the video. We hope you subscribe. And let me know what your thoughts are. Leave me a message, comment, whatever you want. Just I love I love compliments. I also love criticism. I love hate. One of my biggest dreams is, I've been a performer for as long as I've known, but I've never been booed, and I've always wanted to be booed. I think
there you go.
Thanks, Ethan. I've always wanted that. I just want to thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.